It's normally the thing that destroys people's mental health faster than anything else that I've come across anyway. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Massive shout out to all of you who have rated, reviewed, and shared this podcast. We're getting more and more listeners every week, which is absolutely awesome. The community's growing and we're helping more people. So let's talk today about mental health. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but I want to talk about one of the patterns that is probably the fastest destroyers of mental health, apart from external substances. Now, what I mean by external substances is drugs and alcohol is going to essentially damage your brain. I've done work with the Amen Clinic before in the US that do a lot of SPECT scans. Those SPECT scans can show blood flow in the brain, and it shows quite clearly that different drug use, different levels of alcohol consumption does actually damage the brain. It will damage the way the blood vessels work. It will damage how much glucose and oxygen gets in the brain in different parts of the brain. So if we remove those parts, the one thing that I think damages people more than anything is one pattern. And you probably have this pattern right now, and it's probably damaging your mental health. It's probably damaging your enjoyment of life. It's probably damaging your relationships without even realizing it. And that is that you're using comparisons to drive performance. So comparisons are the thief of joy. You've probably heard it before. It's an old quote, but comparisons are the thief of joy, right? They're stealing joy from you. Now, I don't necessarily agree that joy is sort of the thing that we want to aim for in life, but what self-comparisons do is you're in this consistent state of trying to figure out where you're at. I actually worked with a coach recently that I just had a massive falling out with. And the massive falling out was that this person has sent me legal letters and cease and desists. Now, when I look back at the patterns of behavior, this guy always wanted to be the big dog. He's got multiple world championships or world titles, and he has to win. Now, the problem with that is that that's normally driven from an insecurity. When you act like that and you do whatever it takes to win, it's normally because you're insecure. You're not driving for a better life. You're driving to win because what does winning mean? Winning means that you're better than other people. Why do you need to be better than other people? You need to be better than other people because you're in this consistent state of comparisons. You're trying to figure out where you sit in the pecking order. Now, one of the challenges with that, and I've had this most of my life, which is why I can see the patterns so easily now that these issues have happened. When you're insecure, you then look at other people to see where you fit into society. So if someone looks better than you, you go, shit, I'm not good enough. When you look better than other people, you go, see they're fat or they're gross or they're dumb or whatever it is because you're comparing them to you. When you make more money than them, you go, aha, see they're poor or brokies or they're idiots. They can't make money. And then when you have more money than them and you get showed off, you then go, see, people like me or respect me more because I have stuff. None of that is true. You know, as someone who owns 2 supercars now and lives in a nice house and gets to travel and work with some amazing people, I can tell you right now, 99% of people could not give an absolute flying fuck what I do. They just don't care. Most people do not give a shit. I can wear $2,000 shoes and 99% of people don't even know whether they're $2,000 shoes or $2 shoes. I can wear a nice watch, and even I had this the other day where someone asked me, I've got my Breitling. It was a watch that I bought when I made my first $1 million, and it was a watch that I wanted. Like, it was just, my 2 favorite watches that I have is I have a $5,000 watch that I bought. I actually paid $2,000 for it, or $2,500. But it was a watch I remember going to the shop, and I looked in the shop window. It was a jeweler just around the corner from my house. I went and looked at it, and I remember looking in the window and seeing this watch. It was a Tag Heuer. And I looked at that watch and I thought, wow, how awesome would it be to own that watch? And the lady came out and she said, do you want to try it on? And I thought, oh, there's no way I can afford this. And I put the watch on. And I was like, man, this watch is so cool. Like, I love, you look in the back and see how everything works. And that watch logged into my mind as like, wow, I can't afford this. Anyway, years later, I was able to buy one secondhand because they didn't make that same style of watch. They have the same brand, so you can buy a Tag Heuer Carrera. They still make them, but they just don't make them with the same look. They've changed the look of them. So I ended up coming across this one and I bought it. I wear it heaps. I've got like a rubber band on it, like a sports watch. And I wear it because for me, it's that thing that reminds me of when I didn't have money. I looked in the shop window and it was $5,000. I was like, man, how do people spend $5,000 on a watch? Like, that is insane. And now when I was able to buy it, I was like, man, it's so cool that I got it for $2,500, I think it was. But how cool is it that I got that watch that I wanted? Then I worked really, really hard and I made the first $1 million in our business. And my goal was to buy a Breitling. But anyway, I bought this Breitling. It was like $14,500 for the GMT, for anyone who knows watches. And for me, that was huge. And for a lot of people, it is huge. It's still huge to spend $14,500 on a watch. And anyway, someone was sitting in my events, and they might be listening to this podcast now, but they said, I was wondering why you bought that watch and not like a Rolex or something more expensive. And I explained the story, and they said, I was just wondering why. And the thing is that it doesn't matter what you do, there's always going to be levels, right? So you can buy a $40,000 Rolex, and someone with a $200,000 watch will sit there, and if they're insecure, they'll go, I'm better than you because I have a $200,000 watch and you have a $40,000 Rolex and I'm better than you. Someone who buys a $2,500 Tag Heuer or a $5,000 Tag Heuer will look up to the person who's got the $14,000 Breitling and goes, wow, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I wish I had the money that they have to be able to buy that. The person with the Breitling who is insecure looks up to the person with the $40,000 Rolex. It never fucking stops. And what I found is that there's something called an inferiority and a superiority complex. When you're insecure, you have to feel more superior than others by having shit around you and letting them know that you're more superior. So when you have an inferiority complex, some people go to the gym and being big is never big enough, or being good looking is never good enough. But that's because they're comparing themselves to everybody else. Now, if you have high values on physical exercise and physical appearance, you will meet people who just say, you know what? I love training, I love exercising, I love bodybuilding. In fact, I have a great example of this is a person that I've known for many, many years. I haven't seen him for probably 10 years, maybe 12 years. But when I met him, I was in my early 20s and he was probably 10 years older than me. He had done bodybuilding all of his life. He started in his teenage years, was a pro bodybuilder, competed in the IFBB. I think he was Mr. Universe in NABBA, had won multiple NABBA Mr. Universes, ended up with a whole bunch of health issues, created a supplement company. Some of you will know who I'm talking about. And he's still in the bodybuilding industry because he just loves it. Every time I saw him, he ate at specific times. He loved the diet. He loved the routine. He loved getting the best out of himself. And even when he retired from bodybuilding, he would still eat the same way. He would still train the same way because it was just who he was. It was part of his identity. He wasn't doing it to show off to others. He didn't do it because he was thinking he was better than others. He did it because it was who he was. That shows that you don't have an inferiority complex or a superiority complex, which you need to be better or worse than others in order to perform. But I also meet a lot of business owners who they have an inferiority complex. I used to have one. I was a poor kid at school. I was picked on all the time. My parents couldn't afford basketball shoes for me. So I grew up wearing these like $20, they were called Aerosports back in the day. There was some shitty brand that when you would jump in them, it felt like your heels were hitting concrete. They were so hard. I remember playing basketball in them and my feet used to burn. They used to feel like they were on fire. But it was because we couldn't afford Reeboks or Nikes, which were really cool back in the day. And I remember just growing up wanting a pair of Jordans like all the other kids or a pair of really cool Reeboks like Shaqs or something like that. And my parents couldn't afford them. So I got my first job when I was 13 working at a service station, packing shelves and cleaning the toilets. Now, if you ever want to find out how to challenge yourself to see whether you really want a job and whether you really want money, try and clean toilets at a public toilet block. So in service stations, people would just like literally blast the shit out everywhere. And when I say that, like I had found shit and urine in the most weirdest spots in the toilet station, like in the bathrooms in the toilet. It was disgusting. But I did it because I just wanted to make money to buy shoes because I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I was a piece of shit because my parents couldn't afford these shoes. So I had an inferiority complex, which means that I felt like I was less than the other kids. When I would buy things for myself, it made me feel like I was better or at least at some point level with them. So when I started working as an apprentice diesel mechanic, I had a really nice car, which was, I had a Datsun Bluebird that I had painted and spray painted. I had the engine built by one of the Australian race teams because I used to be part of a Nissan or a Datsun race team. So they actually built my engine. It was wild. The car was amazing, but it was relatively cheap. Like back in the day, I think I probably spent maybe 5 or 10 grand on the whole car. Still working multiple jobs. Even when I was doing my apprenticeship, I would still work after hours or night times, and I would work on weekends doing promo work and things like that because I just wanted to make more money. But what I didn't realize was it was driven by an inferiority complex. So I gave up a lot of my life to work. I still partied and went out and had fun, but I worked a lot as well. So doing promos, I would get to work at pubs or clubs. I was able to drink. I was able to hang with a lot of friends. I was able to meet people, but at the same time, I was getting paid. And this was part of a pattern because I would then make that money and I would then go and spend it either on clothes or shoes so that I could feel like I was good enough. And then I would go and spend it on cars. So the moment that I made a little bit more money, I went and bought a new car. And then when I made even more money, I bought another new car. And I was always running almost at financial broke. Like I was stressed all the time about money, but it was because I would spend every cent that I had trying to look superior. I wanted to look like I was good enough. Like there was nothing greater than pulling up in my WH Holden Statesman Caprice that was black with massive chrome rims on it, big exhaust system, huge stereo system. I used to go pick up my friends and stuff, and they thought I was like the coolest shit. But that was because I was insecure. And I felt like I had to have those things to fit in or to be accepted, which wasn't true. And it kept me going around in circles quite a lot. But also, I always felt like I was never good enough. I was stressed a lot because no matter how much money I had, I needed more money to buy more things. Like I wanted a jet ski. I wanted a big Malibu wake setter back in the day. I wanted to be able to buy a shack. I wanted to buy my first house. I had all these things that I wanted to buy because when I had all these things, then eventually I would be good enough. You've heard me say this on the podcast before that when you chase a rabbit, the rabbit runs. And so anytime in life when you're chasing something, it tends to run away from you. The moment that you accept who you are and the moment you just live your life, the moment you tend to get everything that you always wanted anyway. It's not about the emotions. It's actually about the way you operate as a person. Now, I don't have any scientific data on this. There's a lot of theories out there and people say, yo, it's quantum physics, but they've never studied quantum mechanics or anything like that. Most of physics is mathematics anyway. They just come out with principles that you can use. And so maybe some of the principles are, I don't know, some law of energy. People say it's energy, but when you study physics, the law of attraction actually states that when you create an attraction force, you create a repulsion force. So if you're attracting certain things, you repulse other things as well. So maybe it's part of that, I'm not sure. But there is something that happens in life that is very, 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 very interesting that I haven't figured out yet. And that is that when you change the way you think, you tend to get the things that you want versus repulse the things that you've been chasing. So what I noticed was that when I didn't really care about growing a business, that's when it grew, right? When I sit here and I go, you know what, I just love doing what I do. I'm really, really good at it. I just want to surround myself with good people. All of a sudden, bang, the business grows. When I tried to push for business growth, I was stressed all the time. I was frustrated all the time. I was angry a lot, and it just didn't work. I mean, it worked. It worked to a point, but I was always pushing. It felt like I was pushing a fucking wheelbarrow up a mountain. It was tough. And I think this is the same in life, right? Like when you have an inferiority complex and you feel like you're not good enough, you're always chasing being good enough. So you buy more things, you spend more money, you waste more money, which means you need more money. So then you work your ass off in order to get more money, or you look for shortcuts. This is where I see that people do stupid investments or they do dumb shit. I get a lot of young kids or young people who reach out to me in their early 20s or late teens, and they're like, I just want to be rich. And I go, why? And they go, well, because I want to be able to travel the world and do what I want. And I go, yeah, but why? Like, what is it? If that's your choice and you're going to work really, really hard, if it takes 20 to 30 years to make that money, which it probably will, are you going to do something that you enjoy? And then a lot of them go and invest in crypto, then they lose their money and they start back at zero. Then they chase something else. So then they're doing foreign exchange trading. Then they go start a business. Then they realize that they don't really want that business. So then they change it and start another business idea. And they're always changing things to try to figure it out, but they're actually chasing money. And they attach money to some emotional state that they're looking for within themselves. A lot of people think that when they make more money, they can have more shit, but the more shit, they attach an emotion to it. So they go, when I have more money, I'll have more freedom. That is not true whatsoever. When you make more money, you have higher level problems. You have bigger shit to deal with. More people try to sue you. There's more accounting issues. There's more staffing problems. So then the question is, why do you want to grow and scale a business? This is why in my Thrive Time event, I get all of these high level people, these high performers, business operators, small business owners, people who are highly driven coming in to build their success maps. Because if you don't understand what you're actually trying to achieve in life, you may be chasing the rabbit that's running from you all the time. You'll burn out, you'll be frustrated, you'll be pissed off, you feel like you're not getting anywhere. Or you get the results you want and you never know how to celebrate them because there's always something else to chase. And so you're always looking for that thing to chase because it gives you a drive and motivation. The other thing that happens is if you're not clear in your business, you keep pushing for scale and don't know why you want to scale. You want to scale for the money, but you don't actually know what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to achieve. And business always feels heavy. You hire the wrong people and it's not fun. So inferiority complexes, what will normally happen is they drive a lot of performance. So when someone's insecure, they'll work really, really hard. When someone's insecure, they'll be really motivated. When someone's insecure, they'll be really, really stressed. And when they're stressed, they work really, really hard or they do a lot of shit to get out of stress. But when they get out of stress, they then do the things that's counterintuitive to their growth. So for example, a lot of business owners will push really, really hard. They work a lot, they get ahead financially, and then they go and take that money and buy a jet ski that they're only going to ride twice a year, right? And then they go, shit, I don't have enough money. Or they build their business and they go, you know what, I need a bigger house. So then they buy a big house, they build their dream home. But then from there, that creates a whole bunch of other chaos. Then it creates financial pressure and stress. It increases their expenses or cost of living. And then when the business tightens up, they go, fuck, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my car. I'm going to lose everything. And then they're stressed all the time. So they stress through growth and then they stress in the downturn. It's because they're a stress head. A lot of that comes from this superiority and inferiority complex. They think that when underlying all that stuff is that when I achieve all of these things, I'll be good enough. When I get these results, people come to me and they tell me how good I'm doing. Do you know how many people, even in their adult life, are still driven by what their parents think about them? You know, I've seen it. Thousands of people have come and done Thrive Time, my Thrive Time event. And they will say, you know, I just want my parents to be proud of me. And we're talking about a 40-year-old adult. If that's still the case, you feel inferior to your parents' dreams. And so therefore, you need to then start to feel superior to those things in order to get their pride or their best wishes or whatever. Most of the time, your parents don't even give a shit. They don't even know what's going on. They don't know that that's what you're driven by. They just love you. They just want the best for you. But most people don't know that. So being driven by a superiority complex where you need to prove yourself to everybody else and prove that you're better than everybody else, not only will be self-destructive to your own mental health, it will be self-destructive to your relationships, your finances, and the way you live life, and also your enjoyment. The other thing is that when you have an inferiority complex inside yourself, no matter how good you do, you won't accept that you're doing good enough. And so you'll sit on the couch after working flat out for a whole week. You would have burnt yourself out. You sit on the couch and your brain goes, you lazy piece of shit, get up and go do stuff. Because to you, rest equals danger. Rest means I'm not good enough. Rest means I'm letting people down. Rest means that, you know, I might fail. And when you do that, you'll never rest. You'll never recover properly. So you'll burn yourself out. You'll start having health crisis. You can potentially start using drugs or alcohol or binge eat. I was talking about this at Thrive Time only last week when we had our event on. And I said, do you ever think about this, right? Why is it that people go on holidays, sit around a pool, and then they start drinking? Has anyone ever thought about that? Has anyone ever tried to sit there for a whole day doing nothing and seeing what happens inside their brain without alcohol or drugs? And most people have gone, I've never really done it. When I go on holidays, I normally have a couple of drinks. I sit around and eat food. I believe the reason why most people can't go on holidays and not drink is because your brain knows that humans are born to be productive. That when you sit around and do fuck all, your brain tells you that you're doing shit that is unproductive. So when you go on holidays, you have to have a purpose. So if your holiday is to rest and recover and build back up your health, then go somewhere where you can do that. So go on a health retreat. I tend to go to Bali to a very nice resort. And when I stay there, foods are always taken care of, looked after. I can get the meals that I want. I can go get massages whenever I need to. I'll take 2 weeks off from work and I go and I do a full recovery. I don't go on a holiday because I think that holidays, what are you holidaying from? If you've built your life effectively, you don't need a holiday. You just need to change gears. And so for me, when I go on a holiday, and if you're watching me on YouTube, you'll see me doing it. I'm putting my hands up and doing the little exclamation marks. When I go on a holiday, there's a purpose to it. So am I going on a holiday to rest and repair and recover my body and my mind? If that's the case, I normally sleep in a lot. I go and I try to eat as healthy as I can. I make sure that there's a gym close by. I go and I exercise a lot, and I actually come back fitter, healthier, better rested, and I'm ready to go again. That's one of the reasons why I go on holidays. Another reason why I go on holiday is to spend time with Jess. So we might take a week off and we'll go and do stuff together because it helps our relationship. So the priority of that is like, if we're going out, we just go out to a restaurant, we eat whatever we're going to eat, because if it helps us with our relationship, we might go and enjoy stuff together. We might eat some dessert or things like that. It's probably not the best for my health, but it's helping me build my relationship. Sometimes I go away, like last year when I went to America. The purpose of that is the first week or two was for Jess's birthday. So that is our time away in New York. once we went back to Miami, it was go time for work. So I spent a lot of time working. Even though I'm in a different location, I'm going out for dinners with people, I'm hanging out with people. Also, I'm still catching up on sleep and everything like that to recover. But you've got to know the purpose of why you go on holiday. If you go away and you find yourself sitting there drinking by the pool all the time, why? What's the reasoning behind it? What's the logic? What's the logical explanation of why you go and do that? For most people, they go, well, I need a holiday. And you go, why do you need a holiday? What's the reasoning for the holiday? And they go, well, I need time to rest. And I go, you think that sitting by a pool and getting absolute shit-faced around a pool is fucking rest? That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like, do that if you're 18 to 25, but you're a 45-year-old person who is trying to build a company and you're going away and writing yourself off. You drink all night, you call it a fun time, you can't remember half of it. Then from there, you wake up in the morning with a fucking hangover. You spend most of the morning eating shit food and everything like that so that then you can drink again tonight. And you keep doing that and you call it fun. It's not fun, right? It's just you don't have a purpose for why you're doing things. And then you wonder why you come back and you're stressed out, you're burnt out, you're frustrated, but you've essentially destroyed your brain. You've destroyed your body and your health, and you haven't had enough sleep. And now you're coming back to work and you're expecting that the people around you are going to perform. You're the fucking leader. You're setting the standard. That's a really shitty standard. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't drink and I'm not saying don't party, but I'm just saying be aware of the purpose. Like, I will drink and I will have a great time if I'm around high level, heavy hitting business owners and we go out for the night. That's going to take 2 to 3 days to recover from that on average for me. If you're young, it might be a little bit shorter, but for someone who is, in their 30s or 40s, it might take 2, 3, 4 days, maybe even a week or two for your body and brain to recover. Your sleeping patterns are going to be thrown out. You're not going to think as effectively, and that's fine. Like, you just need to know those costs. But if you're going away for 10 days and all you do is spend 10 days sitting around a pool drinking, you got to ask yourself, is that the most effective purpose for the reason why I'm doing things? I think that purpose and intention is everything in life. You have to have a purpose, which is the reason why you do things. The second thing is you have to set an intention for how you operate, which is your standards. If your standard is, I go on holidays, I get absolutely plastered and paralytic, I stay up late, I feel like shit, and my intention is just to rest, but you're not resting, then those two things are going to clash. You're going to come back to work and you're going to feel like shit, and that's the standard that you set for your life. So you have to be aware of why you do what you do, and be very, very careful about letting superiority complexes or inferiority complexes drive your judgment in life, because it may be destroying not only your mental health, but it'll be destroying your happiness, your ability to enjoy what you produce in life. You'll always feel like nothing you ever do is good enough. You'll always be chasing enough. You will then take that out on other people. So your friends and family around you will feel like what they do is never good enough. You'll consistently pick on them. You'll pick on staff who perform well. You'll be picking holes in every little thing that they do, because you have to be the top dog in your business, but also you need to be the top dog at home. You need to tell everybody that they're doing not good enough, so that then you feel like you're good enough without even being aware that you're doing it. It's a really shitty place to live. If you need to break these patterns, make sure you get a ticket to my Thrive Time event and break that pattern. Again, Thrive Time isn't one of those motivation, jump around, high five people events, or it's not one of those spirituality events where you sit there convulsing on the ground and some dude hugging you and touching your chest and making weird movements and things like that. It's an event for high performers. Anyone who believes that they want more out of themselves, can get better out of themselves, and want to have the clarity of how they can perform at their best, that's the event. We have everyone come along, from the youngest person we've had, I think, is a 12 or a 13-year-old kid, Josh. We've had families come along and bring their kids. Some of them are in their early teenage years. Some of them are in their later teenage years. We have plenty of couples come along, but we also have everyone from small business owners right through to people who run $100 million plus companies. We've had Ryan Lim, who is the ex-head of Air Asia, or Fang Ming. We've had some pretty big heavy hitters there, some huge corporate juggernauts as well who come along, because at every level, you need to have clarity and you need to get the best out of yourself. And you've got to break those patterns, those mental and emotional patterns that are keeping you stuck. You might work your whole life, make a massive empire, and still feel completely unfulfilled, which is a shitty way of living. And that normally comes from those inferiority and superiority complexes. They will destroy your life without you even knowing it. They'll destroy your finances without you knowing it. They'll destroy your relationships without you even knowing it. It will destroy your team without you knowing it. And most importantly, it will destroy you without you knowing it. So you have to break those patterns. Driven Mofos, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please make sure you share. Sharing's caring. Please share it across your social media platforms, or at least post it on Instagram or something like that. The more we can get this out to people, the more I can help people. Anyway, keep kicking ass. I appreciate you all, and thanks for being part of this epic community of driven mofos. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.